Hey everybody, thanks for joining me here and thanks for checking out my podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notification bell for new episodes. You can also find Shine Without Shame on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. My guest today is Nicole Kennedy. Nicole is a Pilates instructor and small business owner. After a 6-year career with the San Francisco Ballet, she founded Empowered Body Pilates in 2016, starting out as a one-man band. Today, Nicole works with a team of 4 instructors and is currently mentoring 4 aspiring Pilates instructors through the industry's most rigorous Pilates education program. When she's not in the studio, she spends time with her husband and 10-month-old son and is preparing for her 40th birthday goal, a century cycling ride. Nicole, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Tiffany. Happy to be here.
Oh, it's a joy to have you. I'll share with the audience that we know each other because I am one of your clients at the Pilates studio. And I'll say when you sent your bio over and I read it, I did not see the 6-year career with the San Francisco Ballet being something that you were going to share. And I was like, oh, that is just so cool because it makes sense to me in terms of the Pilates connection. But it also just speaks to how multifaceted people are. You know, we have so many different experiences in life. We have different chapters. And I thought that was inspiring to know that you had that career. And so I was curious, and I will tell you, Pilates for me has been a really good challenge. I'll put it that way. I have no experience. I feel like I'm 15 years behind everybody because people have been talking about Pilates for so long. And my body is certainly 15 years behind because I'm working now on that core, strength and just developing, a new connection physically to my body. But I will say that for me personally, the journey there's been a physical, evolution and progress, but then there's also kind of been this emotional, personal part of my growth through Pilates. It's like, I'm just learning so much about, I don't know, how I think about my body, the attitude I have about it, and how I want to empower myself, like your business, name says. And it's just so interesting to use it, not just like as a get in shape, process, but sort of start to trust myself and gain more resiliency in, my mental focus and physical ability. So I'll just share with you, it's been a really positive journey. I didn't know there'd be so much of like an mind, body, spirit connection when I started Pilates. I think I just thought, I'll just go in and I'll get stronger and great, that'll benefit me in, obvious ways. But yeah, I didn't realize that the journey would be more holistic. It makes sense. I just didn't imagine that. So I'm just curious for you, why you want to offer Pilates, why that's an important thing for you to bring to the community, and, what you, just generally speaking, what you hope to get from it personally and professionally, and why it was an important step after your career in ballet.
So, I found Pilates through ballet. My first year with San Francisco Ballet, as it is for most ballet dancers, you're kind of trying to figure out where you fit in the repertoire. The artistic staff is trying to figure you out. And it can be very slow moving at first. You can feel like you're kind of not doing so much or treading water. San Francisco Ballet happened to have a Pilates studio in the building, and that's how I took my first Pilates lesson. The instructor, my first teacher, saw me passing through the hallway, and she introduced herself and said that she was the Pilates instructor and asked me if I've ever done Pilates. I was like, no, I have not a clue what that is, but I am not dancing as much as I was. And like most ballet dancers, I'm terrified of getting fat and getting out of shape. And I need to do something. So I'll try it. I'll try. So I took my first Pilates lesson, and I have to completely admit that I hated it. Being a perfectionist, always wanting to succeed, I did not understand why I couldn't do this. I was a trained professional. And being the individual that I am and being stubborn enough, I just kept doing it. I just kept taking a lesson every single week until I realized that it was Pilates for me not only helped me fine tune myself physically, but the relationship I built with that instructor really gave me the support system that I needed in a state of being kind of lost. I just moved to the Bay Area. I really didn't know anybody. Um, you're slowly making friends with colleagues and fellow dancers, and I wanted a touchstone. I wanted a foundation, and the relationship that I ended up building with that instructor um, really kind of gave me that sense of foundation that I was really hunting for, and then allowed me to get a little bit more grounded and return to that idea of looking for success. Because I had Pilates as a place to focus my energy, my intention, receive positive feedback, and then I could move forward with that more positive sense of self.
Well, those qualities that you're speaking about of the instructor that you had, I see in you. I know that you haven't worked with me directly, but I see you in the studio. I hear you speaking to people, and you seem to really want to create a positive environment, safe environment, one that is supportive and where people can feel a sense of belonging. You do that. It seems so naturally, so natural. So I just want to reflect that back to you. That's been what I've witnessed in you as well.
Thank you. When I after I stopped dancing, I went back to school full time. And that same Pilates instructor encouraged me to do my very first certification. I was very comfortable with communicating with my body, having been a dancer, but absolutely had never communicated with my voice. And so then to go through the process of learning how to articulate how to move um, to someone, again, put me back into that very vulnerable state of, am I successful at this? I'm afraid of messing up. I'm afraid of not being perfect at this. And for better or worse, the dance world does breed that. You are always striving to be absolute. There's never good enough. It's this was the bar, and now you have to go another bar higher. And I think that what I have hoped in through my teaching is that there is good enough, and what good enough is the best you feel like you can do that day, right? And can I help a client take that was good enough to the more um what's the word I'm looking for? Um to the more positive framework of I was successful. Um I achieved. I gave the most and the best I could be today. And I don't think that without the ballet world, I don't think I would have that same passion and that same desire to um, provide that space and provide that energy to others, because I wouldn't really know what it would be like to not feel successful, to not feel good enough, to not have achieved, and to want. So I needed to have that sort of more negative experience to be able to then go on the journey of creating the environment that I hope to create and that you've had the opportunity to feel. So I mean that's a big win for me. It's great.
No doubt. And I'm curious, this idea of always, wanting to succeed, but also always wanting to like go to the next level, take things to the next level, knowing that there can always be better. Well, how how have you connected with your ability or the opportunities that you've had to shine? Like, have you been able to, and maybe it's been a journey and it's changed, but have you been able to accept, okay, I am, at least right now, I am succeeding and I'm comfortable with my success, even though I may continue to evolve? Like, have you been able to, or what does that journey look like in terms of really embracing the success that you have or your accomplishments? Because I know in the ballet world, at least the little bit I know of it, is you eventually, if you're with a company, you do find your place, and your place may change, but you are you are presenting your very best and you have to perform. I'm assuming you performed, and what people experience most likely at that level, that caliber of professional dancing, is seen as like, wow, that is amazing. It's so inspiring. So I guess I'm asking, what does that journey looked like more specifically in terms of kind of owning your ability to shine, or those different opportunities to shine, and accept that you're enough? And what did you have to maybe work through mentally to come to accept, okay, right now I am succeeding, I am at a level, and I may want to reach a different level, but I want to kind of honor, okay, I'm able to shine now, I want to give that to people. I'm just curious, does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, I mean that's a big evolution. So I was with the company for 6 years, and at my sixth year, I'd gotten injured in my fifth year, and took about half the season off. Made it back, and then by the time I was going into contract renewal time into the what would have been my seventh season, the artistic staff decided to not re-engage my contract. So there was that my first big feeling of I'm no longer succeeding. I've failed. And then there was a very large reinvention process of like, now what? Many dancers have to go through it. Now what do I do? My identity has been wrapped up in I am the ballet dancer. My job is to succeed and be as absolute and perfect as I possibly can be. And I've been told that I've failed. And so I no longer am going to continue with this company. And I had to make a choice. Am I going to keep dancing or am I going to move forward? And I decided, I actually lived the dream that I really wanted to live. I had always wanted to dance for San Francisco Ballet. I was 26 at the time, 27. And I thought, okay, maybe this is the sign. It's time to move forward in a different way. And I'd fallen in love with physical therapy through getting injured. And so all of my studies and all of my focus was to start going to be able to apply to physical therapy school. And so I go through my first certification. And to your question of being comfortable with shining, I was incredibly uncomfortable with shining. And when I was an apprentice, there was this wonderful man who became my client for about 12 years. We're still friends now. He's not my client anymore, but for about 12 years. And he, after every session, would tell me how fantastic I was and what a great teacher I was. and how much he appreciated me. And I was so abundantly uncomfortable to the point that I would recoil, that I would become overwhelmed, that I couldn't make eye contact because no one had ever really said in a professional standpoint, you are succeeding. It's always a yes, but, and now this. And so to have someone be so outwardly appreciative and clearly say, you are succeeding, you are shining, you are making my life better was really hard, really, really hard to be able to absorb. And that sort of became the foundation of what I wanted to be able to give to people, is that I didn't want my clients, when I say, yes, that was correct, yes, that was successful, yes, way to go. I wanted them to not have that feeling of recoil, of shyness, of embarrassment. I needed his feedback to be able to step into myself, to be able to empower myself and my skill set. And he gave me the most tremendous gift. And he knew it made me uncomfortable. And he still did it every single lesson, every single lesson. And after a while, to hear it, you suddenly begin to believe it. I am good at this. I am making a difference. I am helping a person. Um, it took a long time though, and I can quite honestly say I probably did not fully feel comfortable in receiving compliments and accolades for my teaching up until maybe about 3 years ago. I would receive, you've helped me do this, you've helped me do that. Thank you so much. There was something about the feeling of you did this for me that made me uncomfortable, made me feel kind of embarrassed. And then I had to really turn around and framework it. And maybe this is wrong. Maybe this is how I've opted to rebuff it, is I now turn it around as, no, actually, I didn't do that for you. You did that for you. I was just the catalyst. I was just the extra set of eyes. Romana Krasnowska was Joseph Pilates' kind of right hand protege. She's the one that really moved things forward. And she has a famous line that is, the role of the teacher is for alignment. And so I think in our exercise industry, I don't think, it's pretty common practice. You go to a class, the teacher tells you what to do, and they're the one that makes you better. And one of the things that I try to bring into the work is that, no, actually, it's you making yourself better. You're the one on the equipment. You're the one focusing. You're the one concentrating. You're the one experiencing yourself in your body. I'm just here to make sure you're safe and be the extra set of eyes. I didn't fix you. You fixed you. And for whatever reason, our exercise culture has kind of moved away from that concept. Pilates is a word that is in public domain. Pilates can be anything. It can look like anything. The original equipment has 700 different versions of it. And there are facets of the Pilates world now that are like HIIT training, and like they're aggressive, and it's heavy springs, and it's maximum reps, and it's to loud music, and there's a girl on a mic, and it's very glamorous looking. And there's nothing wrong with that. That serves a person that is looking for that experience. I I teach what's called classical Pilates. And what that means to me is that I am teaching the exercises that were invented and designed by Mr. Joseph Pilates on the equipment that is the original or as close to the original blueprints as we know and have. My current mentor is what is considered a second generation instructor. Mr. Pilates handed down the method to Romana Krasnowska. And then my teacher was trained by, both my teachers have been trained by Romana Krasnowska. So what I teach now in the world of classical Pilates is his work according to the way Romana handed it down. And it is my job and responsibility to hold on to that. Yes, of course, we all hope that we bring in thoughts and ideas that then further support the original work rather than changing the work. And the work has a lot to do with that connection to mind, body, and spirit. Mr. Pilates wrote a manifesto called Return to Life. There is controversy as to whether or not he actually wrote it or if it was ghost written. But he does speak about the Industrial Revolution and being in New York and the hustle and bustle and how we've become out of body because we're always grinding, we're always doing something, we're always trying to succeed at something, we are always working, we are always going, and we stop nurturing our bodies and making sure that we are strong and supple and flexible, and we run into this state of fatigue that then we can no longer enjoy life. And what's fascinating about that is that those words that I believe are written in the 40s still 100% applies to us in 2023 in Silicon Valley when everyone is just trying to further technology, build the next greatest thing. I needed to create a space to allow people to come in and focus on themselves. And yes, they should get stronger. And yes, they will get stronger if they stay consistent. But it's a little off-putting for people sometimes when they come in and they're like, oh, I'm going to take a Pilates class. And they have this notion of what a Pilates class is. And then they're like, okay, she's not demonstrating on the piece of equipment next to me. In fact, she's just staring at me very intensely. And she wants me to move my shoulder a half inch this way and my head a half inch that way and do this and do that. And all of these little details, when you take all of those details and sum them up into one body, the goal continues to be to create this optimal sense of strength, both physically and mentally. I always tell clients, please don't think of Pilates as the end all. Think of it as the beginning to your next biggest goals, to your next movement agenda, game plan, what you aspire. Do you want to run a marathon? Do you want to have enough energy to walk the dish every day? Like, what do you need to do? I've had clients that literally just want to be able to put on their underpants without leaning on a wall. Like, that's a goal too. Right? And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I teach the type of exercise that I teach, because without that mind-body awareness, then it does just become, I'm jumping up and down, or I'm pushing the thing in and out, or I'm, running up and down this treadmill over and over and over again. And you can do that mindlessly. And we deserve to to feel like we are master and commander of our bodies and our minds. And by being able to do that, I believe it makes you a happier person, um, and feel more capable. And you really are empowering yourself to seek what's great about you. You had asked me a question about when is success enough? Like, when is it enough? I think that's a really hard question that is super personal. You know, when 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 do I feel like I'm I'm strong enough in Pilates? Well, for me, it's yes, can I achieve all the exercises? Can I execute all the exercises? But one of my most favorite thing is we as humans, we as organisms, we're so amazing, we're so dynamic, we have so much potential. And so it'll be enough when my body says it's enough. Like, could I reach just a little bit more forward into that spring? Maybe not today. Oh, but tomorrow I can. In 3 days I can't. In 5 days I can. You know, there's this constant ebb and flow of like where success lives um in the workout. And I think that that's really true in everyday life as well. Like, some days will just feel more successful than others. Um, and that's okay. And I think the most important thing that I can do is continuing to remind people that it's okay that your perception of success ebbs and flows. That's part of life.
There's a lot of wisdom in that, no doubt. And I think because I'm interested, at least with the podcast, in this idea of shining without shame, in other words, knowing that we're not perfect, but we accept who we are. We accept that we also have gifts and talents and things to contribute in the world that are meaningful, that are valuable. And we may have missteps, or we may have setbacks, or we may make bad decisions, but we're worthy of showing up every day in our lives and, learning from the past and moving forward. And I think that parallels what you're saying about your philosophy and your approach. And I think that's just what I want to keep kind of promoting through the podcast and emphasizing that, it's like showing up in your life, even through the ups and downs. It looks different every day when you show up, right? It looks different when you show up and you're physically not feeling well, you're emotionally drained, or you're worried about something that you have to face or to address. But it's the showing up and the giving the best of yourself, and the kind of learning, the progress, learning from yesterday or last week, and taking responsibility, not in that like authoritative, like, parental way. Are you being responsible enough? But just owning that, like, well, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And I have interests. I have goals. So I always just want to continue to kind of underline that for people who are in the audience, who are listening, that being enough doesn't mean perfection. And it's like what you're saying, it's very personal, because we all have gifts and talents and abilities that are unique to us, right? No one can be just like us, even if we have the same general interests. So, but there's something dynamic, and that's what I think Pilates gives me. Even though it's a routine for the most part. Although, to be honest, every day I show up for my session, it's a little different depending on what my teacher wants to focus on. But there's still a general, and I'm still trying to memorize it, because I haven't fully gotten it into my body and mind.
And then we'll give you another order, and you'll have to refigure that
Exactly. Exactly. But there is something dynamic about that process of, well, today this is how I interacted, or today I was more mindful about this one particular part of the process, the Pilates routine or exercises. And I was like, ooh, I just by being more mindful in this one position, I connected to it differently. And so I'm simply echoing what you're saying. And that's what I hope to focus on and promote on the podcast, is that we're enough by just being who we are. That's good enough. There's always opportunity, and that's what we're here for, I believe, to kind of grow and to learn and to evolve and to heal, even, heal our pain and heal from our trauma, mental, physical, emotionally. But it's just something that I think we all have to be reminded of from time to time. And there's something about what you said about being a catalyst and saying, going back to your evolution as a teacher, as a physical therapist, this idea that there is there's an opportunity to be a catalyst, not that you're changing a person, not that you're making them better. They're showing up to do that. But there is something about being a catalyst that, without the catalyst, not to say that person couldn't evolve in whatever way, but the catalyst is necessary. So I just want to acknowledge that. No, I'm not trying to tell you how to think about yourself. For me, that's an important thing that I've been also working through, is like, as a meditation teacher and just doing sound healing, I have to show up to maybe use the tools to guide somebody through a process. But I certainly don't believe that, like, I'm the source of their power. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I have a role. I don't want to dismiss my role because it's all part of the bigger picture. But I certainly want to be clear with myself that I'm not their source of power. I'm not what is truly causing them to evolve or to change and to grow. But I have a part. I have a role. And I can be humble about that, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just, I'm saying what your reflections have been today. I certainly can relate to just the general experience and figuring out, well, how do I want to think about myself as a teacher, as somebody who's guiding another person through a process. And I do hope that is something that we reconnect with more in the space of whatever it is, exercise or, classes, and being somebody who is guiding people, so that the ego isn't what we're connecting to. It's not about me as a teacher, but it's also, I want to acknowledge that I have a role in the process. So I'm just reflecting, as you were too.